Okay, let's tackle a huge question today, one that really gets to the heart of where medicine is headed. When it comes to figuring out what's wrong with you, who's better? A human doctor with all their years of training and experience, or a cutting-edge AI? You might be surprised by the answer.
For basically all of human history, figuring out what ails us has been a deeply human art. It's this incredible mix of deep knowledge, intuition, and just connecting with another person. The doctor's judgment was always the final word. Well, that's not true anymore. That fundamental reality, that long tradition, it's being challenged. And honestly, in some pretty specific ways, it's being completely overturned. That era is over. So let's get right into it. Because when you actually look at the data, a new champion is starting to emerge in the world of diagnosis. And the evidence for AI's skill in certain areas, well, it's pretty hard to argue with. I mean, just look at this. This is wild. When doctors were given some of the trickiest, most complex diagnostic puzzles from the New England Journal of Medicine, they got it right about 20% of the time. Now look at the Microsoft AI. 85% accuracy. That isn't just a small improvement, that is a monumental leap. And this is not some isolated fluke. In another trial, this time using real-world cases from the emergency room, GPT-4 hit a 97% accuracy rate. It actually did better than the resident physicians on staff. The pattern is becoming really clear. When it comes to text-based diagnostic reasoning, AI is just operating on another level. So what this all really boils down to is that we've hit an inflection point. AI is no longer just this helpful tool running in the background. In these specific areas, like spotting patterns in massive amounts of data, it's not just helping anymore, it's leading the way. So the big question is, how? How is this even possible? This isn't some kind of magic. It comes down to some really fundamental reasons why an algorithm is just built differently and in some ways built better for this kind of work. Right. How can a machine with 0 days of medical school possibly outperform a highly trained doctor? Well, the answer is all about how it's built and, more importantly, how it thinks. It really comes down to 3 huge advantages. First, just the sheer scale. An AI can read and remember millions of medical cases and every single medical textbook instantly. It can see tiny patterns that no human could ever spot in a lifetime. Second, it's consistent. An AI never gets tired and never has a bad day, it doesn't get emotionally invested. And finally, it's all about precision. It doesn't use hunches or gut feelings, it calculates the cold, hard mathematical probabilities for every single outcome. And this gets at a really human problem that AI just doesn't have: cognitive bias. Even the best doctors can sometimes get stuck on their first impression, or maybe they just saw a similar case last week and it's clouding their judgment. An AI is completely free from these little mental shortcuts that can sometimes lead us down the wrong path. Okay, but this is only half of the story. Because for all of its incredible analytical power, AI has some major blind spots. And this is where the human doctor isn't just important, they're completely irreplaceable. So, does all this data mean we're heading for a future where robots diagnose us? Is this the end of the doctor as we know it? Well, not so fast. The role isn't going away, it's just changing into something new, and maybe something even more important. The best way to think about it is like a new division of labor. The algorithm, it owns the raw data, the pattern matching, the speed, the scale, all the stuff humans are bad at. But the physician, they own everything that actually makes medicine human. Empathy, understanding the context of a person's life, making tough ethical calls. An AI can analyze a lab result perfectly, but it can't look a patient in the eye and see their fear. And that brings us to a really tricky problem with AI, because getting the right answer is kind of useless if you have no idea how it got there, and if you can't trust its reasoning. And these flaws are a really big deal. First, you've got the black box problem. Often, we literally can't tell how the AI reached its conclusion. It just spits out an answer. If it's trained on biased data, it can actually make health inequality worse. But maybe most importantly, it has zero real-world context. It can't do a physical exam, it can't see you wince in pain, and it has no empathy. It can't build that trusted relationship, which is itself a huge part of healing. So where does this all leave us? How do we take these two very different worlds, the cold, logical precision of the machine and the warm, contextual wisdom of the human, and make them work together? I love this idea of the algorithmic healer. It really captures the future perfectly. The goal here isn't to replace doctors, it's to augment them, to give them a tool that's more powerful than anything we've ever had before. So, in the end, it really all points toward this incredible partnership model. You have the AI acting as this tireless, superhuman diagnostic engine, crunching all the data. And then you have the human physician, who acts as the compassionate guide, interpreting those insights, adding empathy and wisdom, and helping the patient make a shared decision. That's how we get the absolute best of both worlds. So, as we look ahead, the real question isn't going to be, is my doctor a human or an AI? The answer is that your doctor is going to be both, working together to give us a level of care and accuracy that we've only just begun to imagine.